Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of What's Happening. I'm George Binns, and I'm here with my co-host, Elliot Margolis, and we have as our guest this evening Dr. Kurt Steinberg, the president of Montserrat College of Art. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Lately, there has been a lot of activity at Montserrat the last couple of years. Almost merged or joined with Salem State. And I notice every so often when I'm going downtown, there's another building with a Montserrat sign on the door or on the wall.
Right.
So you're doing things. So what's happening at Montserrat these days?
So let me just very quickly say that, we are in good financial shape. The enrollment is starting to grow. And so I think our conversation with Salem State was good in the sense that I think it focused everybody. I think it got people really looking at the institution and where we wanted to go, and it opened up really good internal dialogue. But we're sort of beyond that, and we're an independent college, have been since 1970, and in Beverly, and we're going to stay that way as long as I'm president of the college.
Well, how big is your enrollment these days?
So right now we're around 400 students. Probably not going to get much larger than that. We're going to add some students, but not really too many. Because really I think our niche is the small, intimate college that we are. We've been able to make it financially viable, which is a great miracle in and of itself of these days. And I think we serve a student that needs that. If they're going to be in higher education and be successful in art and design specifically, they have great access to our faculty, and they get the attention that they need.
What kind of an art school are you? What's the focus of the school?
So we've changed over time. We were originally, in 1970, founded as a fine arts school specifically, and that's radically changed over the almost 50 years that we've been around. We are, right now, about 75% of our students are what I call media arts and design. So really animation, illustration, graphic design, communication design, and then different kinds of film and photography and things of that nature. And 25% of our students are more fine arts oriented. So that's really been a big change for us.
I know many moons ago, probably in the early 80s, two of my kids took summer courses when they were 10, 11, 12 years old there. And the experience was excellent. Now I have actually kids of my customers that go there. Absolutely love the school.
That's great.
Absolutely
great to hear.
Love it. So it's you've made a nice impact. And people seem to be enjoying it and loyal. They like the city of Beverly. My question, though, is, and I ask this of anybody who's a quote-unquote non-profit or something. You own some buildings in the city. You're tax-free in terms of that. Do you have any pilot programs? In other words, as a visitor in the city or as a resident of the city, do you do anything to help the city out in lieu of taxes?
I'd say from that standpoint, we own about 50% of our residence halls, but we lease the other 50%. So we're actually great consumers in that regard. There's actually quite a bit of our money from that standpoint going back into small business owners, I think, on a regular basis. Most of the workforce, if you see kids working in the businesses on Cabot, there are students. So I think there's an incredible impact. We did a study not that long ago, and it's up for renewal. We need to look at it again. The college itself's economic impact on the city of Beverly is about $25 million. So I think we give a lot back to the city of Beverly. We're always open for further conversations about what we can do as good neighbors, but sort of that's where we're at right now.
Do any of your students do internships in the schools or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. In order to graduate from Montserrat College of Art, every student has to have at least one 120-hour internship by the time they graduate. So our career services folks are always looking for good places for that to happen. So there's a number of the public school systems, for example, do get our art education majors. They also get a number of our other students if there's an opportunity. So we get back in that way. I know that we've also done some things for some of the city governments locally. I know the city of Beverly has seen some of our interns. And then there are a couple of other sort of Chamber of Commerce groups. I know Cape Ann has seen us. We had a guy do their marketing actually over the summer. So all their materials that they put out this year were all done by a Montserrat student. So
for the Cape Ann Chamber?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So when you have a bunch of students, 400 students in there, how many different kind of degrees can you get, or what's the range of programs you actually have?
Yeah, so we have concentrations, and I know for your audience it's like I'm just splitting hairs, concentrations versus majors, but in higher education there's a difference for us. So there's a flexibility for our student. The student that comes to us can actually do a concentration in something but has flexibility to be able to take a number of other courses. That being said, you can take painting, printmaking, photography, film, any of those of what we call traditional fine arts pieces. We also have 3D or sculpture as a major. And then on the other side, in the fine arts, in the design and media area, that's where you'll see animation, illustration, graphic design. Those are areas of good concentration for us.
Do you have any master's level programs?
No, we're an undergraduate degree. Bachelor of Fine Arts is what you would earn from us. What we're doing in that area is I don't see us growing into the graduate area. I think what I'm trying to do is actually partner with other institutions that have graduate programs to give our students a pathway. There's at least 2 or 3 places that I'm talking to right now that I'm trying to create some 4+1 relationships so they can get a master's degree in 5 years total. 4 years at us, a year at another place. So we're hoping to make that accessible to our students. I really just want to concentrate on being the best possible Bachelor of Fine Arts program and take our money and really invest it into those things right now.
Okay, now let's say there's a student like me.
Yep.
Okay, I have 0 artistic ability. I like it.
Yeah.
But I can't even paint by number.
Gotcha.
Okay.
No problem.
All right. But I go to your school, and I'm doing absolutely miserably.
Yes. Well, first of all, we made the error of letting you in. I just want to let you know. So I would definitely check to see what portfolio we possibly looked at and how we assessed ability. That's how we would deal with it first off. But I think otherwise, once a student gets in and if they're having trouble, we actually have a committee made up of our support services staff and faculty that every 2 weeks will sit down with a list of students that we have of concern. And they go through each student singly and ask important questions about their progress. Who's talked to them? Where are they? What are they doing? What's the counseling we're giving? And then we also have pretty intense, for those that are really on the margin, we have intense one-on-one academic counseling that occurs on our campus. And that's where the small school piece comes in. That's the advantage of it. I really preach to our faculty and to our staff that no one should get lost. There's absolutely no excuse for a student to get lost at Montserrat. If we lose somebody, and we will, it better be because of other circumstances, or it just wasn't going to work out, and not because we didn't know. I don't want any surprises when somebody decides they're not coming back.
See, my kids did well at the school.
Okay.
They didn't get that from me.
Okay.
I want to make that perfectly clear.
Excellent.
My wife is very good at she's the artist
there
of the
go.
family.
Very good.
And I have 2 architects.
Oh, there you go.
You know, the artwork in that respect.
Oh yeah, no, they're artists in their own right, absolutely.
Yeah. I just lost the question. So help me out by asking one.
Let's get back to the idea of not getting a student lost.
Sure.
What's the ratio of students to faculty kind of thing, or teaching faculty?
So 12 to 1 is that. So 12 students to every 1 faculty member. And I just want to point out that that's all of our classes. So our general education classes, our liberal arts classes, which will tend to be a little bit on the larger side.
Oh, yeah.
Coupled with the studio classes, which will be a little bit smaller and more intimate. So if you average that all out across the curriculum, it's 12-to-1, which is a very good access, I think, to the faculty.
That was actually what I was thinking of as a question. So
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Now, what do I do next? If you're going to think of my...
No, I'm not going to take any of your questions.
Okay. No, that's the other thing you talk about, the 3D stuff, painting, sculpture and so forth.
Yep.
Get into any furniture design or anything like that?
Not too much. We've got some people that are doing some of those things, like on their own within the wood shop and things of that nature. I think furniture design is something that I'm hoping for us to explore a little bit more. There's some really good schools that we could partner with, I think, to make a good program. We haven't quite gotten there yet. I think architecture, there are a lot of good architecture programs out there, and I think our entering that would just be entering a pretty crowded place. So we're probably not going in that direction.
Yeah. One of the things I missed out on is growing up in Providence, Rhode Island School of Design, you've heard of it.
Yes.
I never realized that Tag Fried was teaching furniture design there until like 20 years after. Yeah, so I became an engineer in between. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So who are the schools that you look to partner with, or that you are partnering with?
So we've been talking to the Mass College of Art and Design on a couple of things, especially in their Masters of Education. Give pathways to our art educators who, at the end of the day, do within 5 years of graduation need to get a master's degree. I think it's really important for us to find some partner for those students, as well as when we go to recruit, to be able to say that we have a pathway for them. I think we've got an excellent undergraduate program, and we just need to partner with the right school. So Mass Art we're talking to them right now. We've had a number of conversations with a couple of the local schools about things that we can do. I would love to be able to talk to Endicott or some other school about partnering with them. I'd like to get more business courses in front of our students. We actually started a minor in entrepreneurial studies recently, just starting this fall. And that is our acknowledgement that our students need to have finance or some business curriculum under their belt before they leave. Because really, at the end of the day, we're graduating a lot of small business and owners and entrepreneurs, which at the end of the day is the backbone of the economy of the country we live in. So,
well, you mentioned that you basically have a liberal arts colleges. I mean, you give liberal arts courses.
Yeah, we have to for our accreditation. Okay. It's a must.
Yeah.
But it's also if we're producing real thinking people, designers and artists that are thinking people, that are inquisitive, that like research as well as anybody else. They need to have a solid liberal arts background to be able to do that, to ask the right questions, and to be responsible in the way that they ask those questions.
Okay, now a problem that's actually all over the country, Beverly as well as almost anywhere, nowadays is the drug problem.
Yep.
And number one, I guess, would be, do you notice any of that kind of an issue in your school with your students? And if you do, how do you deal with it?
So I'd say, to say that we don't have something would be, wrong and blind. I think every college has some level of issue. I think, for us, we do it through a lot of education, through the residence advisors doing educational opportunities with their students. 80% of the students live on campus, so we were able to reach a vast majority of them. And our student affairs folks do things about the consequences of that behavior, things that you would normally see. And we do that with some vigor. And I think with some success. I mean, we have issues like everybody else, but I think we've definitely minimized those things on campus. And we're downtown. We're right downtown, and I know that because of that, we have a big responsibility to make sure our students are behaving themselves and are conducting themselves appropriately.
Do you attract kids from out of the state of Massachusetts?
Yes. So
international?
We have some international. It's a big push of mine, is actually to expand that portion of the college. We have students outside of New England coming primarily from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and we also have some coming from Virginia and as far away as Houston. I have started to also take a look at recruiting students from Miami and New Orleans. There's some really good art magnet schools there, high schools there. And I just got back from China on a trip there where we're starting to partner with some high schools in China as well, with the idea of bringing some international presence on campus.
What does an international student bring to the campus?
So I would say, when I talk about diversity in this particular case, I'm talking more about their art making or design making tradition that they bring to the college. I really want them to bring sort of those different traditions from the places, and you can do that domestically as well. It's why I went down to Miami. It's why I was talking in New Orleans, because you can do it internationally, you can do it domestically. I mean, we've got an incredibly diverse art making traditions in the United States alone. So it's sort of both of them. And really trying to bring more of a dialogue on campus where they're talking about those traditions.
Yeah. I get a phobia about diversity because it usually ends up with color issues. And in reality, I think what I'd like to really understand a little better is you talk about a different culture of art from, say, China, Japan, the East, the Far East.
Exactly.
I don't know if you're getting students from Europe, which is a different culture.
Yep.
One time I had to take an art appreciation course, and I could tell the difference between a Titian and a Tintoretto.
Well, there you go. Good job.
But that's a long time ago, and I got over it.
Yep.
But the different types of cultures, what kind of things can you get into with that in a school of your size?
Well, I'd just say for animation, for example, we've got a long-standing study abroad program with a college in Nagata, Japan. We're going to be signing an agreement with them. I'll be over there in April, where they go there for 3 years. They come to us for a year and can get a degree from both schools. That is bringing sort of those Japanese students, but we also bring our students over there for 3 weeks in the summer for a great 4-credit experience. What that does on both sides is it takes our animation students, and hopefully theirs as well, and exposes them to a completely different long-standing tradition of animation. Anime and the way the Japanese have historically approached animation, their character development, the themes that happen in their work is very different than what U.S. animation tradition is. And I think there's a real opportunity for a conversation and learning from each other about those things. And from an animator standpoint, and a chance to maybe take some choices and meld both traditions and come up with something interesting and new out of that. I think I could say that about any kind of art or design tradition in any of the places that we're talking. I mean, China is very different in the way it approaches art making and versus us.
In what way are they different?
So if you were to go over there, their training is very much a training of, they're highly technically capable. I mean, even at a younger age, those aspiring art students can draw and can execute some of their assignments with real precision. It's pretty extraordinary. In talking with them and in seeing some of it, it's done through rote and through copying, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's sort of their tradition. That's where they've come from. But there are some art teachers over there that I've talked to that are starting to ask the question: how do we infuse more creativity and innovation? How do we get our students to maybe take a few more chances, right? And I think what we can learn from each other is our students, our faculty can learn about how this technical ability is achieved in a relatively short period of time in the Chinese way of teaching art. And then we can actually share how do we infuse a little more creativity and thinking out of the box, which doesn't occur as much over there as they even want it to. I mean, they're really pushing right now over there within their art training centers and other places to try to do this.
I always used to think of art as, Monet, Van Gogh, and those guys. Now, do you teach painting as well?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have local painters?
Yeah, we use quite a few local painters. I mean, what's great about being on the North Shore is just there are a lot of really good
Yeah, I
painters.
know a few of them.
Right.
I used to have a
Exactly.
business in Gloucester.
I mean, just
and
Rocky Neck alone, is an
Yeah.
incredible resource for us. So we've got a number of
And everybody
local
paints
people.
Motifs #1, right?
Yeah.
I
but
used to think that when they used to say that was the most painted building in the world, I used to think people used to go out and just paint the building. That was a few years ago. I'm a little more mature now.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that you getting into the business part of the game, and we did a show about a year ago with the guy that runs the Green Banana, and they're into the business of doing essentially internet commercials,
right.
which they're artistic and they're also very business oriented. So is that something you sort of work with some companies like that
Yeah.
to get the students an internship with
Absolutely.
a practicing company as opposed to a school or something like that?
No, we want them actually at schools. We've had Puma, Hasbro, those kinds of companies. We've had students there. The great thing is over 50% of our students have gotten their first job from their internship. So, and within 5 years of graduation, we've been able to track that over 80% of our students are employed in the concentration that they majored in. So those are some, I think, pretty
impressive,
some
yeah.
pretty
That
positive
is, but
things.
that also took one of my questions away from me. So.
There you
Thanks
go.
very
Sorry
much.
about that. But I think, for us, let me just explain some of the things our students do, and that is, we have students that are working at Fidelity and State Street and places like that. You might ask yourself, well, what are those guys doing there? Well, in communication design, for example, those pamphlets you get in the mail, right from those companies describing their products. If the MBA had written that, you would have absolutely no idea what it was all about.
Yeah.
Our students are actually about taking the technical piece and making it available for the general public. They're the ones who actually will make the decisions about how it's written, but also the graphics and the pictures and things of that nature, so that it's actually communicated.
So
to the
marketing
user.
is part of what you do.
I'd say, yeah, technically, would be some portion of marketing.
Yeah. Because you start to talk about the graphics, you got to get the S&P 500 did this,
Right.
and
Exactly.
But you got to get people to understand it.
what does that mean?
And-
How do you get to that next level? And what kind of a course do you have at your school that gets into this translation of a graphic
Yep.
into plain English? Or
Well, they start talking about user experience and the ability to sort of write something and then actually go out there and do research and find out, how did a study group sort of react to something that I did, a poster that I put together, and did they actually read what I was hoping they would read into what was being represented. So there's a research component actually, especially to graphic design and communication design, that they have to learn. That's that UX thing that everyone talks about, user experience. Well, they just put a brand name on something that group has been doing probably for decades, and I made some money off of it. But I think that's one of the value added that our students do that. I think the other thing that we do is that we have students that aren't afraid to have a point of view. And they do that because every day they have to actually prove to their instructor and to their colleagues through the critique process that what they've produced matters and makes sense, and they have to actually explain it to them over and over again. And they can't just throw an idea out. They actually have to come up with evidence as to why it makes sense.
Yeah. Used to go out to Endicott when David Brodo, he was the professor emeritus or dean emeritus or something, and he used to do like 4 lectures a year on art. And I used to go mostly for the history lessons that came with it.
Right.
But I can remember him standing in front of a view graph on the wall, and it looked like Jack the Dripper had the hiccups kind of thing. And he's looking at it and says, "That sings to me." And that's about all he could get out. He's just amazed by it. So I didn't understand what he was talking about.
Right.
I didn't hear a word or a note. Well, so how do you get your students to the point of saying, okay, we'll look at something like a Monet or some impressionist by Picasso or Marcel Duchamp's famous
they don't,
nude down the staircase routine and explain that to somebody?
Well, they don't get to just say they like it. They actually have to tell us why. And they need to break it down because they have to do that for their own work. That's part of the training. Again, the idea is that they don't get to, I think today you get too many people that just sort of throw their opinion out and don't get to, and no one forces them to actually have to substantiate that opinion. I think the one thing an art and design school does is it actually, we hold our students to a very high level where you don't get to just have an opinion. Yeah. You've actually got to back it up with facts, ability, impression, and convince us that whatever you're talking about is right. And what's great about it is that the way we approach it, it's not just the instructor. Their harshest critics are going to be their classmates.
Yeah.
And by the time, and so we end up with a student that maybe is a little skittish, a little fearful their freshman year. Well, I can tell you by their senior year, they're guns a-blazing.
Thin skin gets thickened out pretty quickly.
Absolutely. And so that makes them a lot more productive once they go out in the workforce.
Time for one more question. And because you can go anywhere now and so many people are getting tattoos, do you have a tattoo class, or do you teach people how to tattoo people? Or
I do not know. I don't believe we do.
Okay, because that's allegedly a form of art.
I think we have students.
The Japanese are into that big time.
I'll tell you, I see some people.
I think our students are interested in it, but I don't think we have a particular class.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I thought it was worth a shot.
There you go.
Good enough. Are
you looking to enroll?
No, I'm not. As I told you, I mean, I can't even paint by number.
Okay. So what are you going to do? Roll up your sleeve next and offer it up for an assignment?
No tattoo. This body is as it came and as it will be.
Yeah.
There you go.
But this was fascinating, very interesting.
Yeah, really. Thank you very much for having me here.
Like I say, from personal experience, I know what a great school it is. From my kids' experience, that was, like I say, many years ago, but still. I see your kids walking around the streets, Cabot Street and stuff, and
you can tell by the hair color.
Good kids.
They are.
Good kids.
Absolutely.
And it's nice to have a good neighbor like you.
Yeah, and I have to say that the city of Beverly has been nothing really welcoming to me personally, but what I've really loved is the way they treat the school, the way they really value the school, and just everybody, all the citizens of Beverly, not just the mayor and the political people, but the
well, you see the signs in all the windows. Really your meal card is honored here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we help out when we can.
No, we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's great having you on. We appreciate it. I hope this was entertaining to everybody and educational to everybody to see exactly what we have in the city of Beverly and what we offer in the city. And we have a lot of schools in Beverly. I mean, and it's a small little Boston.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you at the next show.